The agent asked Christopher to show him where the girls were. He asked the agent how old the picture was, and the agent told him it was taken that day. He looked at the photograph and pointed to the patch of dirt in the field below where the batteries were located. Christopher said Shan'ann was buried in the same at that location. That don't make sense. He pointed to the tanks and said Bella and Celeste were in the tanks. Ugh, God. The agent gave him a pen and asked him to mark where everyone was located. He put an S where Shan'ann was and a B and a C on each oil tank to indicate where Bella and Celeste were located. That breaks my heart. They were in separate tanks. Ugh! That makes me furious. Why separate these babies? They were in separate tanks, but why? The agent had Christopher sign the bottom of the of the photograph. Sorry, I keep saying polygraph. And it was labeled with the time and date. The agents asked if the girls were in the tank, and Christopher said yes. Oh. He then asked him if someone that didn't know what they were doing could open the tanks. Christopher nodded yes. The agent asked him what was in the tanks. He replied, oil and water. Who puts their babies in oil and water? He asked Christopher about the sheet, and he said the sheet was what Shan'ann had been wrapped in. Oh my God, that was the missing bed sheet. Y'all, ugh. The agent asked what the girls were wrapped in, and he said the girls were just in their pajamas. The agent asked if the girls were wrapped in their blankets, and Christopher nodded no. The agent asked where the girls' blankets and animals were, and he said they probably blew away in the wind. He's a devil. He's a monster. Shame on him. I can't stand him. I hate him. Christopher said the blankets and stuffed animals were left by the sheet, which was near Shanann's grave. He explained he dug Shanann's grave with a shovel he had in the back of his work truck. He said he always had a shovel with him at work. The agent asked how Shan'ann was dressed, and he said she was wearing a black or gray t-shirt and blue underwear. This is how he disposed of his body, his pregnant wife. He is disgusting. The agent asked Christopher how much time went by from when he put her back in bed, deceased, until he put her back in the truck. He said it only took minutes. The agent asked if he was sure the girls' blankets and stuffed animals were not going to be in the tanks, and he said no, they were not. Christopher reiterated that the blankets and stuffed animals were left by the sheet by the grave. The agent asked him what the girls were wearing, and he said nightgowns. Oh, he said Celeste was wearing a pink nightgown with birds on it, and Bella's nightgown a unicorn or would believe on it. Oh my God. How could he? The agent asked him how someone could get the girls out of the tank, and he said the girls were inside 20-foot tanks. Oh, sweet baby Jesus. Do you hear me, y'all? 20-foot tanks of oil and water. You hear me? That's what he dumped his baby girls' bodies in, a 3 and a 4-year-old. I can't stand him. Which had hatches on the top. The agent asked how far down the girls were in the tank, and he replied it depended on the fluid level in the tank. The agent asked Christopher if there was any chance his baby monitor recorded anything, and Christopher said no. He then asked what he thought made Shan'ann snap. He said it was Shan'ann knowing he had an affair, even though he didn't admit anything. He said Shan'ann needed him to admit it, and he refused. He said he was numb, but he felt the strangling was over fast. Oh my God. The agent asked if there was any way her neck could have been broken, and he said no, he didn't think so. Oh my God, dear Jesus. He described strangling her with both of his hands. The agent asked, guys, this is graphic. I didn't realize how much. The agent asked if Shan'ann was strangling Celeste with one hand or two. Christopher said he came up from the back, so he wasn't sure. What a liar. He explained he knew Shan'ann was on top of her because the monitor was black and white because it was dark. The agent asked him why he thought Shan'ann would hurt the girls, and he said they both loved the girls more than anyone knew. He said people in his family had always told him they believed Shan'ann was unstable. Oh my God. He said his friends also told him that they thought she was unstable. He said, however, he didn't want to paint a bad picture of her. The agent said it didn't look good. He asked if there would be something on the girls other than the cause of death being Shanann's hands. The agent told him it was hard to believe Shan'ann did it, and Christopher said, I know. The agent asked if it were possible that he, Christopher, killed one of the girls and Shan'ann did the other daughter. He asked him if there was a possibility they were going to find his handprints on the girls' necks. He said, oh, Lord, no. The agent told him, oh, no, oh, Lord, no. You just throw your dead daughters that you murdered in oil tanks 20 feet. Are you kidding me right now? Oh, Lord, no. Huh? What else? The agent told him they would be able to compare the diameter and the finger marks on the girls' necks. Yep. And he said he understood. The agent asked Christopher what he was thinking about, and he said, I let my family down. You did more than that, sir. I let down my dad, my mom, my sister, my niece, my nephew, my friends, my coworkers, everyone. Wah, wah, wah. Christopher Crybaby Watts, I can't stand you. The agent asked him about the point when he witnessed Shan'ann on top of Cece, and he pulled her off. Did he think about calling an ambulance? He said no, because she was blue and limp. He said he had never seen anything like it in his life. Christopher said Celeste was laid over. She wasn't moving at all and wasn't gasping for breath. He said she was totally just blue. The agent told him she had been doing her job for a long time, and most parents cannot fathom their child is dead even if their kid is stiff and blue. Facts. Big old giant facts. I'm calling 911. Save my kid. I don't care what it is. Any little, if it's a 1% chance, I don't care. Normal parents, 911, period. He is such the devil. He said parents always want to call to see if someone can revive their child. Facts. She asked him to tell her what was going on in his head, and he said, the rage I felt for what she was, what she did, it just took over. She asked him if he agreed. It sounded weird, and he said, I understand. I see where you're coming from. She told him she would hate Shan'ann to get a bad rap if she didn't have anything to do with it. He said, I know. She said, it wouldn't be fair. He replied, I know. She asked him if he wanted to tell the truth about what happened, and he said it was the truth. He said, I did not hurt these girls. She asked him the question again, and he said, yes, because I did not hurt these girls. She told him she didn't think he meant to hurt his girls, and he said, I didn't hurt them. She told him he didn't save them either, and he said, I know that. He said none of it made sense. The agent asked him if he was sure Shan'ann didn't catch him in Celeste's room, and he said, no, God, no. Mr. Citizen over here, Mr. Holy, Mr. Pastor, Preacher, I don't know, Altar Boy, I can't. The agent told him it looked like he found a new life, and the only way to get the new life was to get rid of the old life. The other agent said he believed Christopher killed the girls before Shan'ann came home. He said no, and his voice started trailing off as he said, this is the truth. He said he was not a monster, and he did not kill his babies. He asked what would happen when the cause of death came back to him. Christopher said it wouldn't come back to him because he was 100% sure it wouldn't come back to him. Huh? And if I was the agent, I would have said I'm 100% sure it is. The agent said, who would it come back to then? And he replied, it will come back to Shan'ann. She was on top of Celeste. He said Bella was brought out laying on the bed. He said his fingertips would not be on Celeste's neck, and the fingertips would belong to Shan'ann. He said he did not witness it, but she also killed Bella. The agent asked why he would take the bodies out of the house and bury them. He said he did not know what to do. He said he was afraid of what everything was going to look like. He said my 2 babies were dead, and I just did that to my wife. He said it was a nightmare. The agent said it looked like Shan'ann was a pretty good mom. He said I was a pretty good dad as well. Ew! You don't know a person until you don't know a person, the agent said. I would hate for someone who didn't know Shan'ann, Bella, or Celeste, who couldn't defend themselves, to have someone lie about them. She asked him why he didn't put Shan'ann in the tanks, and he said he didn't know what to do. He estimated she was buried approximately about 2 feet down in the ground. He said it took him about 20 to 30 minutes to dig the grave. The agent asked how often the tanks are checked, and he said about once a week. The agent asked if he wants someone else to find the girls, and he said he didn't know what else to do. He said he was going to go to Survey 219. We've been saying Survey 319 the whole time. They got right here Survey 219. Now, which is it? 219 to 319. This book is a hot mess, people. No wonder why it got taken off the shelves. He said he was going to go to Survey 219 that morning anyway and didn't know what else to do. The agent asked him what he meant in a former interview when he said that something happened to his wife and daughters, which was an act of pure evil. He said he was referring to the evil he witnessed when Shan'ann was on top of Celeste. He said also he felt evil for what he did to Shan'ann. You are evil. The agent asked him again what he witnessed in Celeste's room. He said Shan'ann was wearing the same clothes she was wearing when he buried her. The agent asked him if Shan'ann ever went to bed when she got home, and he replied, all of that is true. The agent told him that he believes Shan'ann may have been up purchasing hair products at 2:30 a.m. on her cell phone, and her credit card was declined. He said he wasn't aware of that purchase if it occurred. The agent asked if Shan'ann got angry with Christopher because there wasn't any money and he wasn't aware of the purchase. The agent asked Christopher if it was possible Shan'ann could have had a black eye, and he said no. He said he did not punch or slap Shan'ann. He then asked him if Shan'ann would have a stab mark on her body. He said no. The agent asked if the coroner would find out that Shan'ann was poisoned, and he said no. The agent asked that he and Nikki had talked about his wife before he got home, and he said they always talked and they were just talking about their day. He said he also knew about the disappearance by what she saw in the news. He said she also knew about the disappearance by what she saw in the news. He also said Nikki didn't know his wife was pregnant. Yes, she did. She was Facebook stalking that girl. But she did now. He said he was afraid to tell her because he felt like if she had known, she wouldn't have gone on a date with him. Oh, wow, wow, wow. Cry baby. She knew he was married with kids. He then asked the agent if they were going to talk to her. They said yes. The agent asked him if Nikki was going to tell them she knew he was going to kill his wife, and he said no. He said Nikki just knew they were going to hang out more once he had his own place. Christopher said she genuinely liked me. He begged the agents not to put Nikki's name in the news because she had been through enough in her life. Boy, bye. The agent asked if he was sorry for what he did. He said, I wish I hadn't lost control and gotten on top of her, and then I did that, referring to dumping them at the oil well site. Oh my God. Christopher apologized to both agents for lying. The agent told Christopher he believed he was there for a reason. He said there's a reason why I didn't, that I came in because, there's a reason I didn't come in with a lawyer either. So I just and this is going to happen, so I hate when he talks, he don't make no sense. The agent told Christopher that he was struggling with the fact that as many people that would say that he was a good person, that was an equal amount that would say that about Shan'ann. Christopher said, I know. The agent said again, I am struggling with it. He replied again, I know. The agent asked him how he would prove he didn't murder the girls. He said they can compare the hand marks on the girls' necks. The agent asked if he was sure the girls would have had hand marks on their necks and they weren't smothered. He said they shouldn't have been smothered. No. And Bella, I don't know. He lied because he smothered both the girls. But Celeste, she was on top of her and her head was to the side. The agent asked if he saw that Shan'ann might have used a pillow to Celeste, and he said no. The agent said, Christopher, why were the sheets inside his kitchen trash? He said he used the fitted sheet to wrap Shan'ann in to take her to the site, and he had the flat sheet and pillowcases that were left over, and he didn't know what to do with them, so he threw them away. So sad. The agent asked him why he didn't try to hide the sheet out at the oil well site, and he said he was so scared and didn't know what to do. The agent asked him if anyone came up on him, and he said no. He knew his co-workers were on their way out to the oil well site. The agent told Christopher they took the electronics from his house and he provide him with the passwords. The agent wrote the passwords down. The agent asked if he had any questions for them, and he said he needed to use the bathroom. The agent asked Christopher if he had any weapons on him, and he said no. The agent did a pat-down search on him and then escorted him to the restroom. Then he returned him to the room. The two agents also returned to the room and asked Christopher if he was sure Bella and Celeste were both in the tanks. Oh my goodness. He said yes. He put them into the tanks by the hatch on the top. He said he had to walk up the stairs, then open the hatch. The agents asked if it was hard to get them into the tanks, and he said no. The agent asked if he had to push the girls into the tank, and he said not really. The agent asked if Shan'ann was buried because she was too big to fit into the tank. He replied yes. Ugh. He then asked if the girls were in separate tanks. He replied yes. That makes me angry. The agent told him the detectives on the scene could hardly put their arms through the tank opening. Oh my goodness. Christopher drew an imaginary circle on the top to show approximate diameter of the hatch. He then said he didn't know how much fluid was in the tanks. The agent asked if he could hear them drop, and Christopher replied Bella's tanks sounded emptier. Ew. This evil monster. Then Celeste's tank. The agent asked if he felt Bella hit the bottom, and he said he heard a splash. Oh, my heart is broken. The agent asked him if he was sure he didn't put the girls in the tanks when they were alive, and he said, no, God, no, 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 God, no, God, no. I think he did put Bella in there alive, y'all. Christopher said there was no way the girls were alive when he dropped them in the tanks. The agent asked him if the coroner was going to find any resuscitation marks in the girls. Christopher asked, like from CPR or something? He said no. The agent asked if he knew CPR, and he said he took a class one time at work, which was 2 years ago. He said the class used adult dummies, and he wouldn't even know how much pressure to apply to a child. He confirmed that the girls were gone, so he didn't try any resuscitation. The agent asked him if he ended up checking on Bella, and he said yes. He said Bella was blue in the face and not moving. I didn't hear anything such as a pulse or a heart or a beat of any kind. They allowed Ronnie to come into the room and tell Christopher goodbye, as an officer was going to drive him to a hotel for the night. Ronnie told Christopher the police took his Lexus, Shanann's Lexus, hello. Ronnie said the other detectives he had talked to said Christopher changed his story a few times. Ronnie asked if the baby monitor was upstairs or downstairs. Christopher said it was upstairs, and Ronnie said he thought he said it was in the kitchen. Ronnie told him he loved him no matter what. Ronnie said he was interviewed and told the detectives that there was no way he would have hurt his children. Ronnie told him it was a problem, and he didn't call the police. Christopher agreed. Ronnie said they would just have to prove it some other way. Ronnie said it was too bad the baby monitor didn't record. He hugged Christopher and left the department. One of the agents came back in the room and asked Christopher to clarify the size of the hatch. He asked him to compare the size to his paper plate. He estimated the hatch was twice the size of his paper plate. The agent asked him if he had to squeeze the girls into the hatch. Christopher said it wasn't right. He said he put the girls into the hatch feet first. Ugh. He described the girls with their arms stretched above their heads. The agent asked him why he put them in separate tanks. He answered that he wasn't thinking at that point in time and was scared out of his mind and didn't know what to do. Christopher said he walked up the stairs and put one of the girls in the tank and then returned with the second daughter and put her in the second tank. The agent asked him if he had to cut the girls up or anything, and he said no. Oh my God. Christopher assured the agent he'd put the girls in the tank batteries. And that's the end of chapter 19. We are going on to chapter 20, honey. And that chapter's called Recovering the Bodies. It's going to be a hard one, y'all.